Hi there. In this video, we are going to talk about dynamic variables and the execution context into Postman. Right. So let's quickly jump on to Postman and see what these dynamic variables are. So this is inbuilt into Postman. So this is a post request from Postman Eco website, and you could see that you have to provide the name value and the street value, right? So you can obviously supply it from here, from your files, and so on. But let's say you want to pass in unique value every time, right? So then how can you do that, right? Of course you can write up your program to make some changes into that data before that is being supplied to your request, right? Or you could also use the inbuilt feature which is there into Postman, and that is called as dynamic variables. So now to find that, what we have to do is open your browser, type Postman, okay? Click on Postman Learning Center, click on Docs, and you have to go into writing scripts, script references, and click on dynamic variables, right? So here you will see that a lot of variables are provided. One is to do with the common one like timestamp, GUID. Then you have the text number and colors if you want to supply. You also have the access to internet and IP addresses, right? Name like random first name, random last name, random full name, random prefix, random suffix, right? You also have variables available for profession like job area, job description, job title. You also have at times you have to provide phone numbers, addresses, and location. That is also available. Images if you want to supply any images, right, rather than loading it from your system, you can also make use of this, right? There are some data, some variables available on the finance, like random bank account name, and so on, right? For business like random company, and so on, right? And all these phrases are also available. Database dates is also available, right? If you want to pass in any date specific data, then you can make use of that domain, email address, and so on. There are a lot, right? So now the next thing is how can we use that, right? So the way we have to use it, let's understand that first, right? And it depends upon where you are using that, right? Pretty much like we have been seeing that, if you are using it in the body, in your URL section, endpoint section, then you have to use something like this, right? So that's the syntax. Okay, if you are using that in your pre-request and in your test, right? So you got to use the syntax like pm dot variables dot replace in, and then here you have to provide the template, and now the syntax would be something like this. Okay, and it's provided here as well, right? So this is how you are going to use that. All right, so let's see, I want to print first name. Okay, so let me pick the first name and random first name, all right, and paste it here. All right, so this is how you can do that, right? In the pre-request script and test section. Okay, so I'm going to open the console, it's clear. Let us hit the send button and see what is being. Okay, so we are not using console.log, so let's use that. And silly mistake, console.log, we're checking on console. All right, so let's click on that and see. So Vivian is printed. It is going to randomly update that. So next time Dominic is there, right, and so on. How about using that in the body? So here the syntax would be you got to use this, right, and you do enter, and here you will see all those the intelligence is there. So what do we have to use? We have to use full name, right? So it is alphabetically sorted, so random full name, right? And this is the street address. Again, make sure that you put all this into these double quotes if you are working on string data. Okay, so again, to opening curly bracket to closing curly bracket, and you got to pass here what street, alphabetically sorted. So let's go to that street name. Yeah, here it is. And now let me clear the console. And in fact, I mean, the good part is you can see that whatever you're posting in the body in the data section in here. So click on send. Okay, so now you see this value, right? And you click on that and you see a different value again, right? So you could see so here in the post also you can check that in the request body, so we are passing a different value every time. Okay, so this is how you can use this dynamic variable depending upon your requirements, right? The next topic that we have to cover is the execution context, right? So let's do that. And the let's first understand something related to globals, right? So what is a global object? So what I've done is I've opened the browser and I've opened the developers toolbar and I'm on the console tab, right? So a global object is an object that always exists in the global scope. All right. So we're talking about execution context. So if I do this in here and hit enter, you see this is my global object. All right. So when I it's okay. What has gone wrong with that? Let me open. Yeah. So it was not responding now. It is responding. No, it is not. Anyways, so let's do that here. Technology is interesting. So let's clear the console and do this in here and we hit enter and yeah. So you could see that there are a lot of objects available inside this global object, right? So with the help of this, right, you can have access to global object and see what all things are there inside the global object. If you remember, we talked about this, right? A to B and B to A. So that's available in your browser as well, right? And there are a lot of methods and functions, right? So what is window? Window is this, right? Your browser is the window, right? And this is your document, right? So not related to Postman, but just for information sake. And if you have Node.js installed on your system, so all you have to do is open your command prompt, go to Node, and here if you type this, so you see set timeout is there, set interval is there. If you are watching my series on Postman, so we have used set timeout to delay the request, so introduce wait between our requests, right? So and you know that Postman sandbox is Node.js. So this is available into Node.js also. It is available in the browser as well. All right, and you could see these are all the options available, right? My environment variables and so on, right? So if we do something similar into Postman, what are we going to see? All right, and this is going to help us in understanding the execution context. So I say console.log, and if I say this, okay, and I'm into test currently, let me do the same into uh, pre-request script and see if the execution environment is same in both these sections. All right, let's see. Or if there is any difference, let's see what are the differences. So I'm going to open the console, all right, and click on the send button. All right, and let's see what do we have here. So this is from the request, right? And this is from the pre-request section, and this is from the test section. All right, let's expand this. So first of all, this is an object. All right, and then there are so many options. Let's see what all we have worked upon this far. We have used object, right? Object dot keys. We have used that. We also have used crypto.js, A to B, B to A, G4, right? XML to JSON, right? These are all the external node libraries that are available. Globals, let's see what's saying the global. Oh, this is global, right? So these are the variables that are available. Let's click on this, go to go global, and you see these are the variables available. So globals are available. What about the environment? So as you know that at a time there is only one active environment. So our script was executed on this animal environment, right? Let's open the environment and you see all these things in here. URL ID, lifespan, name speed, right? URL ID, lifespan, name speed. Okay. That's cool. uh, what else is there? So we also have access to request object, right? And we can see this is the request, right? And this was the method, and this was the data that we posted. All right, great. We also have the Postman, and in the Postman you again have access to, so this is the execution environment, and in that you have got access to, environment variables, right? As you could see that, you also have access to collection variable, right? You also have access to globals, right? This is your request object, right? You could check the body we are sending. Okay. And environments, then you have that environment, right? Animal environment, which is currently selected, and this is your global, right? And we have been using console this far, right? Console.log. So you see console.log is here. There are more functions which you can use. Console.warn, debug, depending upon how you want to display your thing. We also worked on timeout, right? We have also used pm.test and pm.send request. Okay, so this is available on the this is the object available at the global level for pre-request scripts, right? Let's see the same and see, a lot of things are pretty much the same, right? All these libraries are available there as well. However, this request wasn't available there. This was available under the execution environment, right? And you could see that, response cookies, response headers, response time, response code, response body, these are available only into the test section. We have talked about it, right? But now we are seeing it practically, how this is happening behind the scene, right? And we have seen Postman also, right? Here you have the execution, and then you have got the request and response object. Okay, so this is how they are different. But the thing is, what we have seen this far is, you from your pre-request script, you create the local variable, you load them first into the environment variable, and then access those variable or retrieve those variables into your test section. Why? Because these are shared values, right? And we have seen that why these are shared. So all these environment, global, they are available to both the pre-request script object as well as to the test script object, right? So they are similarity. So what we are doing is, okay, whatever things are common, right? So what we are doing is, okay, hey, pre-request is saying that, hey, I want to supply something to the test scripts, right? So how can we do so? So what is a common space? Common space are this environment variables, global variables, collection variables, right? So we load data into the common space so that the next section, which is a test section, can refer to the data. All right, so this is how it is working behind the scene. We have used json.parse and json.stringify as well, right? And right, so let's do one more thing. Let's see. Okay, so there's a let me open a static website that I've created. And also, if you see that in JavaScript there's always a global object defined in a web browser. When script creates global variable, they are created as a member of global object, right? So whenever you create a function or something, right, they get hooked to the global variable. But let's see whether that happens into our um, Postman as well, right? So one website that I've created just for the learning purpose. And here you could see that, if assume this is your object car, right, and you want to add a key to that, all you have to do is you have to say car dot the property that you want to attach with this or hook with that, and provide the values, right? And we are going to do now the same into Postman, right? So we know that this object exists, right? So let's say I create a variable first of all, home, and I say let name is equal to, let's say we call it as again John, right? And let's see if following this, right, uh, following this definition, if my variable is getting hooked to this global object, right? Because if it is hooked to the global object, I can use it into my test as well, right? And I am not dependent upon those environment, global, and collection variables. So let's see that if that happens or not, right? So I'm running this, and if I open this, I should see, key with name as name, right? But I don't find it, right? So these are local variables. They are not being hooked even to these global variables. If they would have hooked right, we could have used them into the test scripts, but they are not getting hooked. So the only option we have is, whenever we create any local variable which we want to use later into the test script section, we have to first save them into our, one of the three variables: collection, or your, environment, or your global variables. Okay. So we will see that here. That was the whole point. Let's try the other syntax, which was like we saw that object name and dot. If you say, instead of, if I say, let's say this dot name, if I do that, right, will it be there now? Let's see. So now we just have to do this dot name, and if I click send, right, I should have cleared that, increase the readability. And if I do this, do I see the name here now? Somewhere it's not here, right? At least not available at level 1. Let us go into the execution. Where is that execution? So it was there into Postman, right? Let's see if we find anything like that in here, right? It's not available, right? Here also it's not available. We have not saved that into environment, so it's a local variable, and we are not seeing anything in here, right? Um, so that is the reason why we have to store these local variables first into our one of those three variables. All right. So this is about dynamic variables and execution context.